Welcome and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about our internal flame, our internal eternal flame, which is part of your soul, which is this creative force inside of you, and this light, this fire that burns within you, this fiery passion that burns inside of you when you get excited about your inspirations, your ideas, your downloads, your intuition. This has a sense to drive you. This has a sense to want you to create, because the two things that we do are create and survive, and we create to survive. That is how we build society. And so these things that are coming inside of you that you're ready to put out into the world, continue to put out in the world. And you might be also going through a big transition right now, really looking at where your life is and what you're doing. It's going to be really vital for us as we want to thrive in the future and be successful, that we understand how our internal system works, our internal emotions, our internal creativity, the way that we bring things into material form, and nurture that, maintain that, so that we're never burning out, right? That flame can get really hot. We've been taught this lie that hustle culture is the way to go. And so this idea that you have to be on the go 24/7 is against the laws of nature. There's growth always, but it's sometimes in rest, half of the time in rest. And so if we burn out, we burn that flame too much, we're going to burn out. If those flames get too big, they can fry us inside, they can fragment us. And so we want to put the right oxygen, the right thoughts on that flame. We want to make sure that we're grounded. We want to make sure that it's got a sacred space that's within us. And I've been finding these really beautiful devices of using this metaphor to go within. And it's this quick visual that I can think about inside. If you just think about this like beautiful space inside of you, and you have this internal flame, eternal flame, this internal eternal flame burning inside of you, that is the source of where you hold divinity. This is the source of spark. This is the spark of source that is inside of you. This is where it dwells. This is that seed that is your soul. And that soul has energy, has the animation of your spirit, your soul encoded in you of everything that you have learned thus far coming into this world. And maybe if you believe in past lives, from that past lives as well, right? This is your soul seed. This is who you are. And so as sentient beings, as creators, we want to make sure that we know how to fan the flames, that we're producing what we want to do. We're enjoying life the way we want to enjoy it, and we want to hold on to that flame. And so I think the first thing is understanding that you have one, that it never goes out, you're never lost. It can just get really small and dim. And so sometimes we don't feel it, because if we have too many heavy thoughts on us, if we have too many heavy emotions on us, like for example, you get an idea to write a book. And all of a sudden, as you move through this idea, you start to think, who am I to write this book? What do I have to say? Right? And these words have weight to them, on top of what this means about your identity and who you are, which is another great topic that I get into in my course, The Compass and the Code, where we really understand your pillars inside of you and who you are, so that we're unshakable. But we also want to build this space for this flame to sit in. And so when we have heavy thoughts, right, every thought has weight to it, has an emotion attached to it. It can dim that light, and it can put some like heavy water. If you think of like putting water around a flame, or not having a lot of oxygen, the right kind of thoughts around it, it can't grow. It only can really be just this tiny flame. And so it never really has the momentum to expand up, to really flourish and really be a very like beautiful, robust fire. And that's what we want. We want to have these really rich, robust lives. We want to be able to be, our enigmatic, magnetic self, and we want our spirits to shine out in the world, and not have to deal with this self-doubt and these projections and anything. They're going to happen, but we want to be able to maneuver through them. And so if we can think about this internal creative flame, this idea that you're always connected to the divine, And that it's not are you, aren't you, and whatever you want to label that as up to you. It's just this idea of the source of all creation that sits inside of you. And if we can remember that, then we can move about doing the things that we want a lot cleaner, and we can connect. And usually the issue that we have, or the problem that we have, is that we think that we're not connected, but we are connected. And what we need is to learn how to connect inside. That always seems to be the one small step. How do I do this thing? How do I connect? How do I be more spiritual? How do I feel this? How do I be this? How do I take these philosophies and these teachings in life? And it's one of those things where you have to experience it. And a lot of times I think we can get stuck in our logical mind because that's just the society that we live in. We're so used to having, wanting to see and needing to see material results. And this is such an internal place that we really shy away from because it's been, indoctrinated with religious organizations, and those aren't always for everyone. However, the teachings and the mystics in those religious, the mystics in those religions were tapped in and got in the divine knowledge that we want to seek or that we want to apply in our lives. So when we want to connect, imagine this flame inside of you, if that is something that resonates, or some fire inside of you that's secure, that's safe, that's grounded, and that this really just becomes a vessel and a vehicle to connect straight up. And if we can know that it's just a matter of focusing in the intention and connecting, then we can start to feel really grounded. And this is super important right now. This is so critical and important as we're moving into this whole new era of life. We're going to battle. We're gonna be challenged with new ways of thinking about how we're gonna move in society, how we want to move in society. The matrix is shifting and cracking, and the foundation of what was is opening up. And we're gonna have this sweet little time frame to see what is possible. What could I possibly do? Especially with so much online, people migrating and moving. There's a lot of opportunities if we so choose to see them. But it is a really uncomfortable place to be when you want to make big changes in your life. The fear of the unknown is real for a lot of people. It can grip us. And so sometimes those fears really are just illusions, but we have to walk through those situations for ourselves to experience it and to see for ourselves and to move through and realize sometimes it's not as fearful as we had thought they were. So we have this flame inside of us, and we want to keep it burning, and we want to make sure that it burns at the right temperature. We want to make sure that it's being fueled and fanned appropriately so it directs everything forward thinking and forward moving. And we don't want to get mixed up with different thoughts. And the reason why this is so important, the more we can understand ourselves, the more we can find refuge in ourselves internally and know that we have a safe haven no matter where we are in the world, no matter what's going on. Not that we're retreating or hiding from anything, but that we just come back to ourselves. It's this sense of feeling centered and grounded. And we're doing that within us. And we can hold this flame to know that there's certain things, there's certain values and standards in the ways that you live in your life. And so this flame is a representation of that. And you can use this in meditation as well. Maybe check on yourself, maybe check to see like, how is it today? How is the structure that's built around it? Is it secure? Does it feel safe? How do I make something sacred inside of me? Is this like creative vessel so that when challenges arise, things arise, self-critic arises, whatever comes, whether it's the crazy thoughts, the crazy life situations, the ways in which the world is constantly changing, that each one of us has an internal place to go to seek refuge and connect with something bigger than ourselves. And so this way, we're starting to learn how to open up that channel so that we can really clearly hear our intuition, how we can really clearly get a sense of guidance, even if we don't know all the details, because we usually don't, but at least we can get a sense of the next step and then the next step after that. Because what I've learned with spirit, with working with my own guidance, is that if they were to give me the whole plan, I would be so overwhelmed I wouldn't take any steps. So sometimes you might get a couple. You might start to, you might see a vision. Of course, you want to see some sense of a vision of what is it that you want, but you kind of have to step it one bit at a time. And when we're walking through the unknown, what do we need? When we're walking through a dark path that we haven't been down before, we need to hold a light. We need to hold a torch. We need to hold a lantern. And that's what this internal flame inside of you is. It never goes out. And this is the navigation. This is our compass. This is how we understand that this situation is good for me. This situation isn't good for me. This is going to benefit me. This is going to be the right choices in alignment with me, or it's not quite right. There's nothing wrong with the not quite right. It's just not right for me. And this is how I stay in the right frequencies. This is how I can stay in alignment. And when I get out of it, because it happens, everyone gets out in and out of alignment. We have lots of stuff that we have to deal with. It doesn't take a long time to get back to it. It doesn't have to take me out for days or weeks, unless it's something totally traumatic. But even still, I get a sense of I can still go back to my center as quickly as possible and still move through those emotions. And as creatives, right, we want to take a lot on. We get really big ideas, and it's kind of a drug in a way, right? When you get these really big ideas and you want to do something with it, and you have all this motivation, it's really easy to just go. And especially once you get in a groove and you kind of get past that like lower valley of death. I hate saying that, but once you kind of get past some of the initial flows of the creative process and you're in a rhythm, it's really easy to burn out. And so again, this flame really needs to be checked on. Like, how do you nurture that flame so that you're constantly fanning the right fuel on it? Are you putting self back into it? Are you putting the right, I like to think of like thoughts as air, they're energy, they're mental. So we can fan them where sparks are flying everywhere and it's frantic, or it's funneled in the right way. So how are we moving through this? And how are we looking at our internal flame as this space where we can go back to? And this is where we tap into our guidance. So I just wanted to leave you with that thought. This internal flame, it's a well-known esoteric teaching, and I've started to apply it in my life with my work, in just setting up my day in the morning when I feel out of sync and I want to get back into just that like juicy feeling, that like sweet essence in that zone of just this momentum that has this like vibe to it, like when you're in your own vibe and you're feeling really good and everything's working for you. And it's just a really great way. And sometimes it's not always going to be that bright. Sometimes, rest is important. And so that flame is going to be a little bit more subdued, but that's just for a moment. And once I start to see is like a visual cue, like a temperature gauge, how am I doing? How is this moving through? And I can really start to see when that excitement bubbles up and it bubbles up and it bubbles up and it does. I can really funnel that energy into the work that I want to do, or whatever I want to do, or the play that I want to have, or the fun adventures I want to go on, or the experiences that I want to embark on and take on, to work on, to do. And so it becomes this really easy way to go into like a moving meditation. I know people have a hard time with meditation because our minds want to work. They want to think about something and they want to focus on something. And I've noticed that if we can give it a little bit of something to hold on to, maybe this is a cheat code, like the visual of a flame, a candle, and a flame inside of you that is in this sacred space, then you can sit with that and you can just watch the thoughts go by. And then you can decide, are these the thoughts I want to keep? Or do I need to just let them go and let them move on? They came in and they can just go right on out, because I'm sitting in an observer position. And that's the goal of meditation. And so sometimes it's hard for us to just you need to anchor yourself, right? That's the kind of the hidden message of meditation, of like getting in a quiet place, sitting, kind of grounding yourself. This is grounding yourself. I'm anchoring in to myself. And sometimes we just need a visual cue. And so if we can think about this visual cue and how it relates to your creativity, when you put fire, right? put fire into energy. We put fire into our creations. We put fire in that active yang energy into things. It moves. It starts to have its own momentum and its own energy because we're giving it life and we're bringing that creation to life. So play with your internal fire, nurture it, maintain it, make sure that you're always feeding the fire and the flames. And if you would like to join me in my course, Compass in the Code, link down below. Thank you all for being here. I love you all. Take care of your internal creative flame, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.